This video includes spoilers for Attack on Titan anime episodes that have aired through Season 4 Part 1, but no manga spoilers. Having recorded a Season 1 recap for Attack on Titan recently, it dawned on me how well this show planted seeds early on for where its characters eventually end up, especially Eren. Watching Part 1 of Season 4 earlier this year, I found myself shocked by Eren Jaeger's actions. At the start of the series, I was entirely on his side. After witnessing his mother's death and all the other Titan horrors, I couldn't wait to see Eren's journey, rising up and destroying the Titans. Then Eren did rise up, but it turned out the enemy wasn't quite as simple as we originally thought. In Season 4, we see him kill not just Titans, but countless civilians, including children. Suddenly, what we felt for Eren 8 years ago in Season 1, we now feel for those suffering his wrath. I understood Eren's thirst for revenge just as much as I now understand Gabby's. So, how did this happen? What turned Eren into the ruthless killing machine we met in Season 4? What extinguished the kindness in him that offered a grieving Mikasa his red scarf? And how did he become so cruel as to tell Mikasa, the quasi-sister that protected him his whole life, that he hates her? The truth is that all of the seeds for this are planted in the first season. And as the themes of the show became clearer, it also became clear that this was an inevitable outcome. At first, Attack on Titan presented itself as a David and Goliath story. However, as the history of the Titans was revealed, it became apparent that the story is a bit more complex than that. Attack on Titan is not the story of uprising against a nearly insurmountable foe. It is the story of how violence and cruelty beget violence and cruelty. It is not about David defeating Goliath. It is about how Goliath turns David into Goliath. And that's exactly what happened to Eren Jaeger. He was taught at a young, impressionable age that he lives in a cruel world. So by the time he was old enough to make an impact on the world, cruelness was the only language he knew. And in a twist of fate, some of Eren's once closest friends are largely responsible for this result. Armin, Mikasa, and Levi. These are three characters Eren saw as confidants, and in Levi's case especially, sources of wisdom. Rewatching Season 1, I noticed that each of these characters had a significant impact on shaping Eren's growth. At various points in the season, each of them were present at critical moments of decision for Eren, and in each case, they swayed him in a direction that made the Eren we met in Season 4 inevitable. First, let's talk about Levi. After Hanji's two Titans were killed, Erwin led an expedition into the giant forest, revealing the existence of Annie's female Titan. At this Titan's appearance, Eren was tempted to transform and fight her on his own, against Captain Levi's orders that he hold off and let Levi's team do the work. Petra shouts at Eren to trust them and insists he not transform yet, while Captain Levi is a bit more level-headed. "If you want to do it, Levi says, and he goes on. "Eren, the difference between your decision and ours is experience, but you don't have to rely on that. Choose, believe in yourself, or believe in the Survey Corps and me. I don't know. I never have. I can believe in my own abilities or the choices of companions I trust, but no one ever knows how it will turn out. So choose for yourself whichever decision you'll regret least." And Eren chooses to trust his companions, only to watch Annie slaughter them. There was only one way for Eren to process this result. Captain Levi, someone he looks up to and trusts, told him explicitly, "Go your own way or work with us. Whichever choice you regret least is the right one." So, when Eren chose to work with them and regretted it, the lesson became, go your own way. And that's exactly what he did 4 years later, tearing down the city of Marley. Levi's pep talk, which convinced Eren to trust his teammates and watch them die, is one small building block toward the Eren we meet in Season 4. Next, let's talk about Mikasa. At age 9, her parents were both murdered by bandits, who then planned to sell her on the black market. But Eren came to the rescue, killing 2 of her captors. Unfortunately, there was a third bandit who overpowered Eren and attempted to strangle him. Mid-strangulation, Eren tells Mikasa to fight, but she is paralyzed with fear. She holds a dagger and her hands shake until she has a realization. This world is cruel. She thinks of all the predators and prey she'd witnessed in her life, and understands that exercising your strength to kill others is the normal course of nature. The clarity brought on by that realization allows her to kill the third bandit, and from then on, be in complete control of her actions. Eren, of course, witnessed his own share of cruelty as well. He was forced to murder at a young age to protect Mikasa, and he watched a Titan devour his mother. But just like in the Levi example, the way Eren processed these events was greatly influenced by the advice of those around him. Later in the season, underground in the Stoas district, Eren attempts to transform and fight the female Titan running loose in the city. However, he is unable to make the transformation happen. Mikasa quickly realizes the problem. Eren is hesitating. He is not willing to accept that Annie is the female Titan. Mikasa reminds him of all the evidence making it obvious, and reminds him of all the friends Annie killed. But to no avail. Eren still cannot transform. Finally, as Mikasa leaves Eren behind, he begs her to tell him how they can fight Annie. So Mikasa recalls the thing she had to realize in order to stop hesitating and kill the bandits. She tells Eren that they don't have a choice. The world is cruel. After that, Eren is still mentally paralyzed, until Armin returns and gives one more piece of advice. He tells Eren that you have to be willing to sacrifice and throw aside your humanity to prevail. In pursuit of her goal, a mystery at the time, Annie is clearly capable of that. Finally, Eren tells himself the world is cruel. He tells himself that in his pursuit to kill the Titans, he just needs to act, adding, "There's no time to think whether it's right or wrong." Then, he transforms and fights the female Titan with no thought to collateral damage. His first punch flings her into a church, killing many in the midst of peaceful prayer. And in the finale to Season 1, we see many others, including women and children, die, crushed by Eren, Annie, or just debris from their battle. It's a small taste of what would come later in Season 4 during Eren's attack on Marley. It also gives a glimpse at the mindset which eventually seems to take hold in Eren. There's no time to think whether it's right or wrong. The Eren we meet in Season 4 seems uninterested in the morality of individual actions. Put another way, the ends justify the means. Now, to be fair, in Season 1, when Eren fights the female Titan, he is partially, as he often is, driven by emotion. His face looks ready to explode in this moment when he remembers his friends and his mother. Then, fueled by rage, he thinks of the cruel world and transforms. However, even if he was driven by emotion in this scene, the underlying ideas imparted by Mikasa and Armin take root in his psychology. He accepts Mikasa's words that the world is cruel, and we have no choice. We can absolve ourselves of guilt. If cruelty is sewed into the fabric of reality, we can justify even the most heinous actions. I think her word choice here is very deliberate. How can Eren justify the deaths of so many civilians in Marley? Like Mikasa said, we have no choice. In Season 4, Eren is far less emotional. He no longer needs the spark of rage to become a monster. He can do so at will, based on his underlying philosophy that was forged in the cruelty he lived through years earlier, guided by Armin, Mikasa, and Levi. When he transforms underneath the city of Marley, it's not in the midst of a female Titan rampaging through civilization, and it's not in the midst of Eren giving in to his thirst for revenge. It appears to be a cool, calculated decision. Like Levi suggested, Eren is choosing his own path. Like Armin suggested, he is casting aside his humanity. And like Mikasa suggested, he is accepting a cruel world, where he has no choice but to put more cruelty into it. There is, of course, a lot more to Eren's journey in Seasons 2 and 3 that leads to his actions in Season 4. However, upon my rewatch of Season 1, I was so impressed with how early on his actions were telegraphed, I felt it worth calling out in its own video, especially considering how poorly this sort of thing can go when it isn't plotted or paced quite as well. Earlier, I mentioned how the themes of this show made it clear that Eren had to become a monster. This is a topic complicated enough that it deserves its own video, or more realistically, a series of videos. But to explain my point, I'll briefly talk about one of the show's themes, the cycle of violence. As we learned more about the endless conflict between Eldians and Marleyans, it became clear that Attack on Titan is interested in the idea of how violence breeds more violence. Eren, Mikasa, Armin, and the rest of these characters are caught up in a conflict that began long before they existed. They're paying for the things that happened between Marleyans and Eldians years ago. This in and of itself says something about the perpetuation of violence over the centuries. But to put a fine point on it, Attack on Titan does not want to simply tell us about the cycle of violence, it wants us to experience a cycle in its entirety. So, we follow Eren. We understand his rage. We want to see him take revenge. And we follow him as he does, only to learn that those who killed his mother, the people he hates, were motivated by hate, just like he is. Reiner, Annie, and Bertolt were bred to hate the Eldians, just as much as Eren learned to hate the Titans. Hate and violence lead to more hate and violence. Then, in Season 4, when Eren enacts his greatest act of mass violence yet, the cycle is shown in stark clarity. The destruction of Marley closely resembles the destruction of Shiganshina in Season 1. And further, where Episode 1 has Eren witness the horrors of a Titan attack, Episode 65 has Gabi witness the horrors of a Titan attack, enacted by Eren himself. To complete its meditation on hate and violence, it was inevitable that Attack on Titan would turn Eren into a villain, at least in the eyes of some, so we could truly witness a full cycle of violence. There is a lot more that can be said about Eren Jaeger's journey and the overall themes of Attack on Titan. And as I continue my rewatch of the series leading up to the final season, I'll do more videos like this one, in addition to my full recap of the series, part 1 of which is already out. Click the card in the upper right corner to check it out. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can keep up with my Attack on Titan coverage as we approach the end of this amazing series. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next One Take.